Hey guys, welcome to the daily analysis for today, Thursday. A lot of stuff going on in the market, a lot of good movement. As you can see right in front of you, there is a euro-dollar daily chart where the euro pretty much collapsed today, a major move to the downside off of the 131 area. So a lot of other stuff going on as well. We're certainly going to cover all that, but before we get into all of that technical stuff, let's take a quick look at what we have as far as news announcements go tomorrow. Alright guys, so for tomorrow we have a decent amount of news going on. Obviously the keynote event is that non-farm unemployment change, or non-farm employment change, I should say. And so we'll see what goes on there. Obviously anything with a major deviation from what's expected can create a lot of movement in the market, as we know. What's expected is 89,000, so keep that number in mind, and then we'll obviously compare that to what the actual number is when it comes out and see what the announcement, or see what the effect is, I should say, in the market. Okay, Canadian dollar also has employment change and unemployment rate, so those will affect the Canadian dollar, but that non-farm is the major announcement. Speaking of announcements, today we had the unemployment claims like we do every Thursday, and the number actually came out about 8,000 less than expected, which is a relatively positive deviation for the US dollar, but across the board the US dollar actually lost ground against most of the other currencies. Now you can see that Canadian had some positive news, and the euro got a little bit of positive news, but for the most part, the US had the most positive news, yet it got beat across the board on the other currencies. So that's just an interesting note. We'll take a look at exactly how it got beat and show you that, but it's just interesting that even if the news does come out positive for some of these currencies, it doesn't always mean what we think it's going to mean. Alright guys, so the first thing, obviously we have the euro dollar, which did make a nice move down right off the 131 and the top of this trend area. Not really a trend actually, it's almost a horizontal line, just a very slight downward moving area that tested. We had a very strong move obviously today. Now we are sitting near the top here, a little bit through that, and then also kind of in this middle area here, you can see that we're sitting in a little bit of a zone here. It's not a major level, but there is a little bit of traffic, so to speak, there. So we'll see if price struggles before breaking, but it certainly looks like price should break lower and head towards 127, 126, 125, maybe even 124. Depends on how long it takes to get there before we kind of encounter the flow of this thing as it moves down. It's kind of an expanding bearish wedge, and so that's kind of difficult to set a reasonable expectation as far as target. Being short on the euro dollar, I'm targeting right here, which is 126.63, and that's probably the most logical target in my opinion. Now you could also trail a stop as another strategy and not have a hard target. That's always a possibility. But if you're going to put a hard stop loss in place in this 126.5, 126.7 area, I would put it somewhere around there and expect price to come down to at least retest the previous low of this wedge shape. Okay, alright guys, pound in a similar situation, but actually very different, because we have the same rounding, we have good bearish movement today, but now where euro dollar is actually breaking off a level toward lower lows, the pound dollar is just coming back down to test this level in this range. Depends on obviously where exactly your line falls, but mine falls in this range, so it's coming down to test that area. And the question, of course, is it going to bounce now back up and continue this breakout potential here, or is it going to break back through and move toward the downside? And well, I don't have an answer for you. The euro dollar looking so bearish right now kind of gives me some thoughts that this thing is going to break through and become more bearish. But at the same time, this is a great break with a retest, which is always a good sign for continuation. So, tomorrow is gonna have to be the real deciding bar. If the pound breaks through, okay, I'm gonna short it and look for a move toward lower lows based on this trend line. If it's bullish at all, I'm gonna be definitely looking for longs and looking for the continuation of this momentum-filled up move and try to take advantage of that. So both are certainly a possibility, and I will be waiting tomorrow to make a decision on that. Notice that this very steep uptrend here has not really been broken, even with this bearish move today. This very steep move really has not been broken into, so that's kind of interesting. Also notice that the tops here are also a horizontal level that we're dealing with, so it's sitting at some major support, trying to push it back up toward higher highs. And we'll see who wins the battle there, the bears or the bulls. Alright guys, also notice that the US yen did come back down after that very strong bullish bar that we talked about yesterday. I said really strong bar, looking like a lot of momentum, but coming right back into this downward pressure. And as you can see, it was stopped. So it's amazing how strong these levels are and how many of them are holding up. Obviously the pound dollar broke through level recently, but the US yen has not been able to break through this little downward pressure line. So we'll see if it comes back down here tomorrow, or if we get another attempt to break through it tomorrow and try to finally head back up and continue this bullish move, because it is very bullish. So we'll wait to see on that one as well. And speaking of major levels, you can see that also the euro pound finally did make a strong bearish move, both off this trend line here. You can see that we had this trend line here, and also this major resistance zone in here. Got a lot of attempts into it. It kept trying to move up, but finally we got a break to the downside. And so now it's a matter of whether that's going to continue or not. There's not a lot of levels here. We have this one peak right here that happens to be right near where it's at now. Also, it kind of corresponds with these little tails, but it's not a major level. It's not, it's not like the base here, which is going to be a much stronger level in my opinion. So we'll see if we can get down to here. But a decent amount of momentum for euro pound. Euro pound's been sitting pretty still, quietly rising up against this trend line toward this zone, but not a lot of good consistent movement. So it'll be interesting to see if we get any continuation. I think the euro pound is a decent short, but I would certainly not take it over the euro dollar short, which is why I'm not really interested in taking a trade, even though it is interesting to see that finally broke. Now, another thing to note, another reason I wouldn't take this trade is because if you draw your little trend line here based on this recent move where it's kind of moved up and down, you can see that we're still right on this trend line and have not broke that yet either. So even though it is a nice break down off the trend line, not trade worthy yet in my personal opinion. Alright guys, another great pair here is this pound New Zealand. And if you remember, we talked about the break to the upside and the potential for it to reverse and come right back through it. It did. Yesterday it came all the way down toward the bottom of the line, and today we broke right through. So bearish momentum breaking through. Now, personally, what I'm thinking is we are right at this level, so we'll see how it reacts. But a retest to bounce off this next spot and a continuation would be my my pattern of choice if I could pick exactly how the market was going to react. And so that's what I'll be looking for, a retest right back into the same support zone, and you are in this area, and then a strong momentum filled bearish continuation, and I'll look to get in somewhere in here or here or here, or even after the break here. Any of those trade opportunities would be good in my opinion. Then I'd look for a continuation all the way down to about 189.9, or right under 190, where this test. So right in that area would be my next major level that I'd be targeting if it does in fact continue and start heading toward the bearish direction once more. And again, that's assuming that it comes back and retests this level, this very strong level, which is no guarantee, but that's what I'm kind of hoping for to set up my trade. Okay, let's also cover one more pair here, being the AUD. And you can see that AUD is still fighting. It's still in this very tight area here. Since this strong bar here, we had this strong bar here, which topped out, and since then it's been basically nothing, just fighting in this very tight area at the end of our triangle here. And all this pressure is building up. It's ready for a break, whether that's up or down, I don't know. Break to the upside would be great because it's an ascending triangle. So an ascending triangle breaking to the upside is a great signal, and that would be fantastic. But of course, who knows which way it's going to break and if it's going to break anytime soon. But all this price building up so tight, it has to break eventually, and it's just a matter of waiting it out and waiting for a solid entry, and not just trading out of emotion or out of excitement or whatever. You gotta wait for the actual right entry to line up, and then take advantage of it when it does. And so, still waiting here. Nice upward channel on the AUD, very bullish upward channel, but it's all a matter of where it's going to break out of the end of this area now. So I'm waiting for that one as well. Alright guys, that's it for the analysis today. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you tomorrow.